I am James Kotecki. You are in the C-Space studio with me at CES 2024. We are streaming live and we are all on, and very excited to welcome Ryan Mayward, SVP of Sales at Walmart Connect, to the C-Space studio. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Walmart, everyone knows Walmart. Can you just contextualize for us Walmart Connect, not only in terms of what it is, what it means, but even the scope of it?
Yeah, sure. Walmart Connect is the advertising business within Walmart US. And we're a retail and data platform that helps advertisers reach any of their marketing goals.
Yeah.
We're increasing our product portfolio pretty dramatically. We're helping advertisers find Walmart customers off of Walmart. So when they're watching TV or on social networks, bringing them into the Walmart shopping app using display, video, search to help them drive sales. And we're increasingly engaging our customers in Walmart stores with advertising opportunities. So we've got a pretty big portfolio and we're very excited about our roadmap this year.
So people that go to walmart.com are seeing your handiwork, people that are off of walmart.com and other places on the web, and now people that are in Walmart stores.
Exactly.
So what brings you to CES this year? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, well, we've got a few themes we're talking to advertisers about. First, we're talking about how we're getting deeper into measurement and insights. We're offering them richer measurement and insights. We're also talking about how we're helping them reach Walmart customers in more places. Some of the things I just alluded to, expanding our TV partnerships, expanding advertising opportunities with social platforms, expanding our DSP, and enhancing the advertising opportunities in stores. And then lastly, we're talking about how we're leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence to really automate as much of the campaign workflow as possible. Everything from creative production to optimizing campaigns to then deriving insights from those campaigns at the end.
So when you talk about reaching Walmart customers, kind of everybody's a Walmart customer, right? At some point, right? So you're kind of talking about do you pitch it as kind of a one-stop shop for folks? You can come here and you can kind of reach everybody. How do you think about contextualizing it versus other places that brands might want to spend their money?
Yeah, sure. Walmart reaches about 90% of the US population. We have a Walmart store within 10 miles of 90% of Americans. And so if you want to reach customers who are shopping across every major retail category and you want to reach them online or in stores, the omni-channel customer, who is increasingly brands' most valuable customers, then Walmart's the best way to do that.
Yeah. Does it even make sense to give any kind of unique or special characteristics about what a Walmart customer is? Because if we're talking about 90% of America, you can kind of just slice it up like all the different ways that you could slice up Americans, right?
Demographically, we represent every major demographic segment in the US. I think some of the growth drivers for Walmart, in particular our online business recently, have been more affluent households, but we're also catering to customers who are more value-seeking customers, particularly those who are on government assistance. We've reduced the cost of our Walmart Plus membership to enable more customers to enjoy unlimited free home delivery. And yeah, we're really growing both ends of the economic spectrum, but we are representative of the US as a whole.
Yeah. So you alluded to AI, and everyone's talking about AI at CES, and CES 2024 is a big AI show. Tell me about some of the ways you're thinking about that.
Yeah, well, the way that I think about artificial intelligence is where have we found the limits of humans' ability to operate in spreadsheets efficiently and effectively? At least that's the lens I apply as someone who works in the media business. And I think we're targeting people with the right message at the right time, optimizing campaigns, particularly in auction environments, are two places where the machines are better than us, and they're going to just keep getting better.
I love that framework. Where have we found the limits of human ability to use spreadsheets? Because it makes it so much more tangible than this kind of like pie in the sky Terminator. Like AI could mean so many different things, and if you're just talking about it, and I think does having that framework make it easier to kind of operationalize as a business? Like, no, just look at where people are using spreadsheets and just try to make their lives a little bit easier.
Look at the bottlenecks. Look at the inefficiencies in your business. Look at where you're throwing bodies at it, and that's probably a rich place to look for applying artificial intelligence in some fashion to automating or otherwise making that process more efficient.
Do you think about Gen AI in terms of the creative, generative AI?
Most definitely. I think that's going to be a big unlock for marketers.
And are people in your world thinking about human creativity and the role that it still kind of needs to play in the process? Because if we talk about spreadsheets and creative, obviously, there might still be roles for people.
Absolutely, there's going to be tons of roles for people. Like creative thinking is something that only we will be able to do. The rich area to look for the application of artificial intelligence is, repetitive tasks, things people don't enjoy doing, and that's one of the places that we're looking.
As we look out into the next couple of years, what's the ideal consumer experience that you're trying to create? Maybe someone that is a Walmart customer, maybe they're online and they've had maybe multiple touch points with Walmart throughout the week, online, in store, at other websites. What's that ideal state that you are either currently in or trying to work towards?
We want Walmart customers to find the products that they like at everyday low prices, and we want them to enjoy convenience. We want to meet them where they want to be, whether they want to place an order online and go pick it up at the store, place an order online and have it delivered to them within minutes or hours, or if they can wait a day or two, we can ship it to their home, or they can just walk into the store and enjoy the in-store experience. We're also giving customers more and more opportunities to use the Walmart shopping app while they're in the store, things like self-checkout. We really just want to make the shopping experience as convenient and time-saving as possible while continuing to deliver on our core value prop, which is everyday low prices.
That self-checkout, it sounds like that may be one of the big friction points that you're able to smooth out with some of this technology.
Yeah, I've used it. It's a magical experience. I'm using my phone to hit every barcode on every item.
And you're just scanning it with your phone's camera. There's no need for anything else.
Yeah, within the Walmart shopping app. And then you pay with the payment credentials that are already stored there and walk out of the store. It's amazing.
Do you find any interesting insights in terms of how people want to shop in store, online? When we were in the pandemic, people said, okay, we're going 10 years into the future in terms of e-commerce. Everything's e-commerce now. Of course, I was, and many people were ordering everything online and having it delivered or picking it up maybe. And now are we in a new equilibrium? I mean, how do you see the world as it's kind of rebalanced out after that, but now that we can certainly go places again?
Yeah, I think there was this sort of reductionist view during COVID that e-commerce was going to eat all retail, and that's not happened. Customers are flocking back into stores. The stores that they enjoy being in, the stores that deliver what they're looking for when they're looking for it, and Walmart's doing that. And so I think that our most valuable customer is our omni-channel customer, and we will continue to cater to them in terms of delivering rich online shopping experiences and making the store like the most convenient shopping experience they can get.
We've talked about what's on the near-term horizon. Looking out into the medium term, I suppose, maybe 5 years, is there something that you think you and I might be discussing in 5 years that's not really on our minds right now, but we should be maybe thinking about?
It is on our minds. I think the thing that we'll be talking about when we're back here in 5 years is just how fundamentally different search, both general information and e-commerce search, is because of artificial intelligence. If you saw our CEO, Doug McMillon, he did a keynote here yesterday and spoke a bit about our heavy investments in bringing AI to the search experience in our shopping app to help customers find what they're looking for faster, to deliver more relevant search results to them. We're rolling out some of the improvements that we made to our app and on iOS devices this week, and you'll see a lot more from us in that area.
And is that kind of generally about filling in the gap between the person's ability to precisely articulate what they're looking for and what they might actually need or want in that moment, not even knowing it?
There's a lot of vague and ambiguous searches out there, and we want to do a better job of understanding the customer's actual intent by the words that they use in the search bar, and we're bringing AI to bear to do that.
One place that advertising is flourishing is streaming platforms. How are you thinking about the evolution or the current state of streaming platforms as we head into the next year? Where's Walmart playing there?
Well, I think customers are going to see more ads next year. We're seeing more and more consumers in the US opt for the lower cost or the free ad-supported version of their streaming packages. That's only going to accelerate. I think ad loads will increase. And ultimately, I think this is good for everyone. Customers are going to get more of what they want to watch without having to pay for it. And for companies like Walmart Connect, where we're investing heavily in bringing better targeting and better measurement to TV, it's more of an opportunity for us. We're increasingly big partners to broadcasters. We love working with them and find what they're doing really valuable, and we're trying to help them answer measurement questions and deliver more relevant ads to their viewers. And so I'm really excited about what streaming TV has to offer this year.
Final thoughts, fill in the blank. 2024 will be the year of?
Measurement. I mean, you could argue every year is the year of measurement.
Yes.
Over the last 18 months or so, we've been doing some infrastructure work, which is going to allow us to deliver more than our normal annual slate of measurement product releases. So we're excited about our big measurement roadmap this year. We're going to be answering very important questions for advertisers in terms of the ROI that they're getting from us. And we're here at CES actually giving them a sneak peek into that roadmap, and they're excited.
Well, thanks for giving us a sneak peek right here in the C-Space studio. Ryan Mayward, Walmart Connect. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for joining us right now. I'm James Kotecki. This is the C-Space Studio here at CES 2024. So many great conversations are just ahead. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the C-Space studio here at CES 2024. I am James Kotecki, joined by repeat guest, returning champion Andrew Wallenstein, President and Chief Media Analyst at Variety Intelligence Platform. Welcome back, so excited to talk with you again.
Good to be back.
So Variety Intelligence Platform, for those who don't know, I do know because we've chatted before, but can you just kind of define what the brand means here at the beginning of the year?
Sure, it is really, at the end of the day, the place where industry pros go to dig deep into the industry issues that matter most. We give people who really want to know about anything in this business that helps them do business with data, analysis, all sorts of things, tools that help them make money.
And it's Hollywood, it's media writ large, would you say? All sorts of things like that.
And I think we lean heavily into innovation and tech, but always about entertainment and media.
And you have a VIP Plus offering, I believe. Does that look different? Is that something about that changed in 2024? Is there something news there?
Well, it's actually it's a new offering that we call Vitals. And what it is it's everything that we've always done with VIP, but we've decided to put it into readers' inboxes every day at nearly half the price. And so it starts with a newsletter product that comes 5 days a week that has all the hallmarks of what people have always expected from VIP, and that is, again, data, insights, and all those kinds of things, but there's more to it than that. It's discounts to Variety events. You can interact with experts from VIP on a quarterly consultation, and a lot of things, but again, nearly half the price.
So I think it's fair to say that you're the one we got to check in with on many of the trends that we're talking about here in the C-Space studio, and I want to start with streaming. As we head into 2024, what is streaming going to look like for consumers? Obviously, an ad-supported tier plays a role for many of those people.
I would have to think that's going to be the biggest trend. I mean, it's something that clearly was building in 2023. In 24, I think it's really going to define the space. All the major players are going to be having what I would say is a maturing ad-supported business. Amazon, I think, is going to make the biggest splash in January when their Prime Video product will have an ad-supported product that you will have to opt out of it. And so,
pay a little more.
Exactly. And so that, I think, represents the biggest change we've seen in the space in the last decade. And it's just sort of a sign of the times for a space where if you are not collecting a dual revenue stream, you're doing it wrong at this point.
And is Amazon, do you think, somehow better or maybe just uniquely positioned here because they're actually selling products and they can just redirect you, through advertising to stuff that they're actually selling through their own platform?
Yeah, it really represents more than just marketers delivering message. It closes the loop. You can transact on the actual product. And I think it's this marriage of content and the actual transaction that I think represents probably the next big trend to come in the coming years, where it's about so much more than just hitting consumers with a message, it's setting up the actual transaction.
So Amazon, an e-commerce company, became a media company as well. Will we see some of these other media companies try to get into the e-commerce game? I suppose Disney is selling a lot of products. I can't think of too many physical products that Netflix is selling, for example.
No, I don't think Netflix is particularly well situated for this. Disney, I think, is somewhat better, but really, Amazon, I'd say, is probably leagues ahead of everyone else.
M&A is another trend, mergers and acquisitions. And I think just to set the table kind of philosophically, a conversation that I've had many times here in the C-Space studio is there's just a lot of streaming platforms. And there's, I guess we're not just talking about streaming platforms when we talk about M&A though. We're talking about many different kind of moves at the upper levels of these media companies. So in this era, do we see consolidation ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I'm loath to, though, lean too hard into this because I think probably last year we had the same conversation. People were expecting it, and it didn't really happen. This year, it's hard not to see how it doesn't. Starting with Paramount, all eyes right now are on that company. It seems like a move is going to happen. There's a bunch of different suitors. I'm not saying that's the only company where something's going to happen, but I'd be shocked if we were sitting here in early 25 and that company didn't marry off with someone else, and perhaps other moves.
How about, I want to talk about the Apple Vision Pro for a second, but is Apple TV also going to have an ad-supported tier?
We haven't seen any indication of that. I'd say Apple, I would be more likely to see Apple do M&A, at least on the streaming side, or in terms of bundling with other streaming services than I would see an ad play.
Because they're obviously a company that makes products, and one of those products is the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
That's coming out this year. People are very excited about it. Do you think it actually, how much do you think it really matters this year? Or is it still going to kind of be a year of testing and figuring it out?
Very much so. I think it's going to come out in early February. At the price point that it's at, it's only for early adopters. We're talking about something that's $3,500. I think it's the beginning of a shift, and it is way too soon to say whether this really is going to be anything like what Apple has done in terms of iPhone or iPad. You know, the early adopter reception, though, I mean, I'm sure it'll sell out on a limited basis, but not till I get my hands on this thing can I say whether is this going to be the next big thing.
Well, that's a good reason for them to send you one, if any of those people are listening.
Please call me.
We all want to try one and just try it for ourselves. Generative AI, huge topic at CES 2024. And I want to talk about it in the nature of Hollywood. So we obviously had the strike last year. The actors and writers went on strike. AI was a component of those conversations, and we spoke here earlier in the C-Space studio with Duncan Crabtree-Ireland, the executive director of SAG-AFTRA. And so I want to hear from you, from your perspective, how much are studios, these media companies, really leaning into Gen AI from the creative side? Is it still relatively experimental, or are there some big moves being made?
I'd say it's certainly experimental. Big moves, hard to say. I think on the stuff that Crabtree-Ireland is looking at, I don't know if it's big moves. I would say more in terms of the production and post-production process. I would lean towards big moves, meaning that I think there's no chunk of that process that's not going to get revolutionized in the coming years by AI. And it's not necessarily the sexiest stuff in terms of when people think about actors being replaced or machines writing scripts. That's really interesting and kind of fascinating. But I think when you talk about the nuts and bolts of how images are made.
Like color correction, for example.
Right. I think that's really where, wonky as it sounds, that's really where we're going to see the impact first. And from a dollars and cents point of view, I think there is going to be a very quick transformation. And I think that's also going to really not only hit the bottom line, I think it's going to hit jobs.
Any other trends you want to highlight here at CES 2024?
I got to tell you, I went to the Sphere last night for the first time. And I really was blown away. The hype is so real. And I mean, we did get some news that just yesterday that the London version of the Sphere does not look like it's going to happen anytime soon. But I got to tell you, the spectacle that I witnessed, it's hard not to see how that type of technology is not going to catch on. It is just, I quite literally could not believe my eyes.
The immersiveness of it.
Yes, and so I can't imagine we're not going to see that type of spectacle not scale and spread relatively quickly.
So we can look for spheres and other kinds of geometric shapes maybe popping up in cities around America in the next decade or so.
Why not my home? How about my home?
Why not? Everyone can get their own personal sphere, maybe in their backyard. Andrew Wallenstein, Variety Intelligence Platform, we really appreciate you chatting, and thank you so much for coming back. And we hope to have you back again here in the C-Space studio.
It's a date.
All right. Well, I am James Kotecki, your host for Conversations here in the C-Space studio with marketing, media, advertising, and branding leaders. We are at CES 2024. So many great conversations are just ahead. You can be streaming this live on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube, all those CES social channels. And if you're doing that right now, thank you. Stay with us. More conversations to come. This is the C-Space studio at CES 2024. I am James Kotecki. This year the studio is sponsored by Integral Ad Science, and right now we have a special treat, the CEO of Integral Ad Science, Lisa Utzschneider, and joining her is Raja Rajamannar, the Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Communications Officer for MasterCard. Welcome to you both, welcome to the C-Space studio, and thank you for sponsoring.
Thanks, James, for having us.
AI. I just want to throw out, I could just say AI and that could almost be the entire conversation, right? Because that is, in many ways, the theme of CES 2024. It's a huge theme. Lisa, I just want to start with you, some thoughts about how that's changing, not only your business at Integral Ad Science, but also the industry at large.
Sure, so AI, it's not even the topic du jour, right, Raja? I mean, it is the topic at CES. It's one of the most disruptive technologies I think we'll experience in our lifetime, both from the larger tech industry, marketing industry, and as consumers. And IAS, we're a leading global digital media company, and all of the products that we build are backed by ML and AI for marketers like MasterCard, and I know we'll spend some time talking about that.
So Raja, what's your perspective on this? You and I have met a couple times here in the C-Space studio. I'm sure we threw out the term AI at some point, but it just seems like now it's bigger than ever.
Yeah, see, I think at MasterCard itself, we have been using AI for more than 10 years now. And I think it's a Gen AI part of AI which is getting a lot of hype and sort of spreading across to all of AI. And you know, what I found particularly, and it's a justified hype, I would say, right? And that can be said or not said for some of the other technologies like metaverse or blockchain. But this one, I think the hype is totally real. And I say it because firsthand I have experienced. I set up my own AI studio at home. And I started playing with various tools and techniques. It's absolutely mind-blowingly liberating, empowering, and it's absolutely fascinating. So I can see the possibilities, and I'm not at all surprised with the hype, and I think a lot of excitement is in store for us.
With excitement, I think, comes responsibility, which is, I think, my somewhat awkward turn just into the responsible media report that Integral Ad Science put out. You recently released this, I think it was this week. Given the context of all this excitement, all this hype here at CES, we also want to be grounded in something that leans towards responsibility. So tell us about that report.
Sure, so we were thrilled at IAS to launch the Responsible report this week, and the way to think about that is the intersection between advertisers, consumers, and publishers, because as we all know, for marketers like MasterCard, they want to ensure that their brands run adjacent to brand safe and brand suitable content.
Absolutely.
Equally, as parents, we want to make sure that our kids, right? I mean, that's also a topic every day, that our kids are not exposed to anything that's inappropriate. So with that, we're very focused on ensuring that we remain the media quality leader and ensure it's brand safe and brand suitable.
So if I can just add a point, I think, kudos to IAS and hopefully you'll pay me for this endorsement. The reality is these guys are doing such an amazing job. We rely on IAS pretty significantly for our own brand safety. You know, whether knowingly or unknowingly, a good brand like MasterCard would never want to be in a bad environment. And worse, even to fund some of those bad actors. And in order to keep brands safe, what AIS under Lisa's leadership is doing is fantastic. And I would really think about, in the absence of this company or this kind of companies, brands will be in deep trouble. So what you're doing is really noble, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Raja. Thank you for your partnership. And also with that tied to brand safety and suitability, I know we were talking about the topic of AI, but like I said before, especially with our multimedia classification products, everything is backed by AI and ML, again, to ensure that brands are in brand safe and suitable environments.
Totally.
Raja, as you mentioned, so we've got these two kind of pillars, right? We want to be responsible and do this the right way. We also are really tied to the excitement of AI and all the possibilities here. And Raja, you mentioned that you've been using AI for years at MasterCard. Any specific recent developments that you want to highlight here at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, quite a few. And in fact, I cannot talk about it right now, but we're going to make an announcement tomorrow here at CES.
Oh, you could talk about it right now. I'm totally okay with it. You can make
this live stream?
It is live, but we can make some news here at the
C Space
patient
Studio. For just 24 hours
Yes,
more.
we will.
But very excited. So this is targeted specifically for these small businesses. Something quite, I believe, is path-breaking that we're going to launch tomorrow.
Exciting.
But going a step back, AI, we have tried to leverage it in multiple ways. And most recent examples, I would say, we have created something called the MasterCard Artist Accelerator. So if you're a budding artist, you are creating music intuitively, you may not have any mentors. And you create with whatever technology you are familiar with or the instruments you are familiar with, but there is so much more that AI can help you. Likewise, you don't have any mentors who have been through this journey before. So what we tried to do is to launch this whole platform, where now we have got more than 100,000 artists who are on this platform, where they can create music along the lines that they want using AI.
Cool.
And various other tools.
Sounds like fun.
And they get mentorship and so on. That's one of the most recent examples I can think of.
A CES theme this year, as it was last year, is human security, which is how does technology help humans flourish across a number of different dimensions. And I want to ask you both about maybe how that resonates with you and the work your companies are doing, starting with you, Lisa.
Sure. Well, we are so focused on ensuring the internet is a safer place, and also focused on trust and transparency, again, to ensure that brands can flourish in the digital ecosystem. So we're just incredibly dedicated to media quality and making the internet a safer place.
Yes.
See, in fact, a couple of things I would say. Firstly, in my voluntary role as the president of the World Federation of Advertisers, what you have mentioned is actually one of our biggest concerns. How do you keep people safe? And one is the brand safety, the other one is people safety, the third one is the safety of communities and countries and so on. So what we do collectively as brands, and collectively I believe the spend is more than $1.5 trillion for all the members of WFA put together. We work with social media companies and various platforms, and we say, look, the entire industry wants this to be done. Now tell us, how are you making it happen? So we hold them accountable, we drive them towards the agenda, and that I think will really work.
I want to give you both a chance to have a final word, and think as big as you want on this, because I want to ask you both, and I'll start with you, Raja, and I'll give you the last word, Lisa. What are you most excited about for 2024?
2024 I'm most excited about is, I would say uncreatively, Gen AI.
But that is so creative. Gen AI is so creative.
But it's fantastic, and I'm really excited. And like I said, in my own individual situation, I'm trying to now learn and use Gen AI big time. So very excited about it.
Fantastic.
I would say the thing I'm most excited about, in addition to Gen AI, is just the incredible work we're doing within the live feeds of social platforms. So think of the social platforms like TikTok, Meta, YouTube, to ensure that brands are able to run their advertising and connect with users on the social platforms within the live feeds in a brand safe and suitable environment. And it's incredibly exciting given its highly dynamic, highly unpredictable user-generated content backed by AI.
Well, it certainly is an exciting year ahead, and I'm really grateful to both of you for joining us here in the C-Space studio today. Raja Rajamanar, MasterCard, Lisa Uschneider, Integral Ad Science, the sponsor of the C-Space studio this year. Thank you so much for both joining me here in the C-Space studio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching the C-Space studio here at CES 2024. I'm James Kotecki, and so many more great conversations are just ahead. Keep it here. Great. Thank you both so much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back. You're in the C-Space studio here at CES 2024. I am James Kotecki, and joining me is Sabrina Ellis, the Chief Product Officer at Pinterest. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I think many people who click on this or watching this live will probably have some idea of what Pinterest is or what they think it is, but I always like to ask people to define their brands, especially from someone inside the company. What does Pinterest mean in this moment right now?
Sure. Look, it's kind of inherent. I mean, Pinterest's mission is really to bring everyone the ability to create, everyone the inspiration to create the life that they love. And that stays true, and that's actually over time.
Yeah, and your role as Chief Product Officer, how is that defined? What is your scope? What are you thinking about day to day?
Sure. Overall, you look at that mission, we listen to users, we look at the technology that's available, and we think about bringing all those together. How can we really deliver that most easily to users?
And the central, I guess, premise or the kind of user experience of Pinterest, the core of it remains, relatively unchanged, or at least in people's minds as they're expecting it, right? So that you go around the web and you can pin things and you can bring them back to Pinterest and create collections of things that you're interested in. Am I fairly summarizing it I'm just trying to make sure I cover the few people out there who have never heard of Pinterest.
Sure, Pinterest started that way. It was very much more of a collection.
Yeah.
I would say now it's actually slightly shifted. More of our audience is actually on the app.
Okay.
And so what happens is that they come looking for inspiration.
Yeah.
So it's not as much on them. They actually are finding that they come, they have ideas, and then they look to Pinterest to actually have those visual, both image and video to actually bring that to life.
Yeah, and is that, it's an obvious way for kind of brands to play in that space, right? To have those kind of collections, those curations, those suggestions for people who are already there and kind of natively looking for it.
Yeah.
Thinking about AI, and I just want to ask everybody about AI here at CES 2024 because that's all anyone's talking about, right? So tell me about ways that you're thinking about AI, and I'd love to know maybe some of the ways it's in the product right now. Obviously, the definition of AI might be a good place to start, so we make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, AI in our context, a lot of it is thinking again about that visual curation and computational vision. So with AI, it's allowed us to actually process all of it so much more efficiently and effectively. So you think about specific ways that can manifest. One is for users, you can actually say, they kind of always see images and they say, look, I kind of know what I like when I see it, but what are the words put to that? Well, with AI, we can actually help them actually define those, categorize them, and put those in. Other ways that we can is really thinking about how we can actually build more diversity and inclusion on our product. When you have the ability to curate and classify using AI all of the imagery, then we can do things like say, hey, if we want to have more diversity in skin tone, more diversity in hair pattern, more diversity in body type, now AI's unlocked our ability to do that.
And that's a great thing to unlock with AI, which has gotten knocked for sometimes being biased in certain other cases, but depending on the data that you're training it with, obviously, if that data is biased, you may get kind of biased results. So are you on the lookout for that? Have you built with those kind of things in mind to kind of counteract those effects?
Yeah, look, that's a huge factor. And we found that the most when we were looking at body type technology. First of all, AI really helped us because you got to look at size, you got to look at form, all of that to actually be able to classify. But as we were doing it, you're right. The AI models today, they're very biased. And it's just going to amplify it. So what we did was we recognized that we actually needed to bring in human experts to actually help with that curation.
Interesting.
Because if you think about body type, look, it's super sensitive. Even the vocabulary you're using, it's like, look, is the word curvy? Is it good? Is it not? Is the word stocky? Some people like it, some people hate it.
Yeah.
So we actually really talked to people and said, what's the vocabulary that you even like? What are the types of categories you should have? You know what, how many categories should there even be? And with all of that, we brought that with AI to actually be more responsible about how we deliver.
And that's one answer to a very large question, which is, what do people do in the age of AI? If AI can seemingly do many things that people used to do or can operate at such a high level, where do people fit into the equation? It sounds like what you're saying is, folks are now in the equation for having those kind of conversations around diversity and inclusion that wouldn't necessarily have been contributing in the past because the technology didn't exist. Right. So the technology opens up, maybe it closes down some things that people don't necessarily want to do, but it opens up other things.
That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. We actually needed that technology to even enable us to have the conversation, to get that feedback, to deliver the right product.
I'm interested in the language piece of this. I mean, you talk about what words are appropriate, and then earlier in this conversation, you talked about AI being able to take things and kind of define in words kind of what people like, even if they. So it goes from someone saying, "I know what I like," to like, "Oh, I know what I like," because now I can like read. So are you talking about literally like showing people this is vocabulary if you want to go out there and just figure out other things to search for? This is vocabulary that you can actually use to search for it?
Yeah, let me give you an example. A lot of times when you look at home decor, people will say, look, I like these things, but what does that mean? Yeah. You might put those together and say, actually, you know what? You like Japandi. You might not have known that.
Didn't know what that was.
Exactly. Yeah. So we find that twofold. One is people actually like the words because then they can actually even look in other places. Yeah. They can talk about to other people. The other thing we find is on Pinterest, people feel like they learned about themselves. And then even Japandi, you can actually literally break it down. Do you like the minimalism? Do you like the raw wood? Like what are the elements about it? And actually learn more about yourself too.
I think I'm reaching way back now, but there's some kind of linguistic concept I think about this where it's like something can become real if there's a word for it. Yeah. And I think in a totally different context, if you have a disease and you can't describe it, oh, there's a word for that thing that I'm feeling or experiencing, and now I can go and engage with a community around that. So it sounds like something similar there.
Exactly. It actually makes it real. People, again, they feel actually like they've learned something about themselves, and that's a lot about what we want to focus on Pinterest. We have actually done studies with external groups, and people actually feel better after using Pinterest for just 10 minutes a day. You don't see that on many sites out there, and that's something that we really strive to do. We want it to be positive. We want to actually keep it in that way where we're actually increasing well-being. I just don't think many people are doing that right now.
Where does the element of surprise fit in? So if I know that I like Japandi, how do you make sure that you don't just serve me that, and maybe you serve me up a few curveballs of things I never would have thought I would have liked, and maybe I do.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Maybe there'll be curveballs, but maybe they'll also just be very logical related things too.
It seemed like curveballs, but not to maybe a more advanced AI.
Well, I think we have more confidence in what it is that you've actually defined about your style. Two things. One, you've defined about your taste, what you like, and the more that we can understand too about your lifestyle and what is going to work for you. Do you have small kids? Maybe a glass coffee table isn't going to be the best thing. Those are all the things that will help us suggest and recommend the things that are going to resonate best with you.
One of the other themes at CES is digital health. Health is a huge component of the show, as usual. What kind of things can the world of content teach the world of digital health, vice versa? Where's the intersection there?
Yeah, I think for us, where we really invest in the digital health is actually on the mental well-being. We really try to keep Pinterest such a positive site. As I was saying, we actually work on an annual basis. We work with a third party where they evaluate all of the different sites, but certainly ours, to say how is it that you actually keep it positive. We keep that in mind as we develop all of our features. And so we're always trying to do that where people actually, again, learning about themselves, furthering all of the hobbies and interests that they have, and trying to keep up that mental health and well-being.
It's an interesting focus. I know that you worked on the Google Pixel phone in the past.
I did.
That's obviously a physical product, something you can hold in your hand. Pinterest is more of an experience that you have maybe when you're using one of those devices. Has there been something surprising in moving from the world of a physical product to moving to the world of Pinterest? Has there been an interesting learning in that transition?
Yeah, so I've actually worked in consumer space for decades. So I've actually done both digital and physical. I'll tell you one of the things that coming back to the digital space is you can move faster. I mean, no matter what, even when we're doing more software updates on the phones, it's still probably more of a quarterly update as opposed to something here where we can actually test and iterate much faster. I think when you're actually doing more of the custom personalization, when we think about AI, right, we can actually even work with marketers and say, let's look at your product, but you know what, with this user, we actually may know that it's going to resonate better with this type of background, in this type of lifestyle imagery. That is the type of thing that you can actually really test, iterate, and show very quickly in the purely digital space.
We are at a show that has plenty of physical products on display here. Is there something, maybe it's out on the show floor now, or maybe just something that you're aware of that you're thinking about for Pinterest in terms of ways that people might be experiencing Pinterest in the near future or in the distant future? And are you just thinking about it? C-Space is a speculative place, so feel free to speculate if you want. But I'm just curious, are there other I don't know, modalities, to use a ridiculous word here, but like, are there other ways of thinking about Pinterest as we see it devices evolve?
You know, it's kind of interesting when you think about where you might want this type of content. Unlike many of the other sites, where it's actually more lean back content, actually Pinterest is something that's more lean forward. So you kind of have to look at those interfaces more. Whether it would be something that's more flexible as far as, you know, your phones are already very portable. Will actually wearables actually offer you the opportunity to actually collect more information so that we know what types of things will actually be more inspirational to you? I think those are the types of things that could be more interesting.
Sabrina Ellis of Pinterest, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching. I'm James Kotecki. This is the C-Space studio at CES 2024. Keep it right here because many more conversations are just ahead. This is the C-Space Studio at CES 2024. I am James Kotecki, very excited to welcome the co-founders of Mortal Media, Blake Griffin and Ryan Khalil. Thank you so much for joining me here in the C-Space Studio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, so NFL All-Pro, NBA All-Star, how did you guys meet, find each other, and create this company in the first place?
We met through mutual friends a long time ago, 2010, I think it was, and both had various projects on our own, and both were interested in this space for a long time. And in 2016, we decided to sort of team up together, and yeah, the rest is kind of history.
So tell me about some of the things that you're producing. Mortal Media is a company that is behind some shows and movies that people might know, and I know there's some exciting stuff in the pipeline. So tell me about how do you contextualize it?
Yeah, I mean, we're still pretty young in the space. I mean, to use a sports analogy, we feel like rookies. But yeah, we started in 2016, but really kind of took our time. Obviously, we had other careers going on in sports, and so we felt like it wasn't going to last forever. Thus, the name Mortal Media came about it.
Okay.
And then we just decided, you know, let's take our time. Let's try to find mentors. Let's really try to be sponges and learn and try to figure out as much as we can before we really get into this and leap in. And so that's what we did. Luckily, our off seasons kind of offset each other. So one was in town, the other was playing, and vice versa. And we were able to really sort of garner a ton of relationships and really start to kind of craft a slate of projects that got us really excited. You know, early on, everybody pitched us sports shows and movies. We felt like we didn't want to get pigeonholed, so we really kind of stuck to our guns. Blake, more of a comedy guy, me, more fanboy genre, and in the perfect world, we have both projects. But long-winded way of getting to just this year, we were able to release, or last year, we were able to release our first TV show on Apple, Hello Tomorrow, starring Billy Crudup, and then we did a reboot to White Man Can't Jump at Hulu.
Yeah. So Hello Tomorrow is a sci-fi show, I believe, about selling property on the moon.
That's right.
I understand that you both kind of get involved in the actual creative process. So take me through the details of that. What does that actually mean for you? Let's start with you, Blake.
I mean, for us, we like Ryan said early on, we met with a lot of people in the industry and wanted to make sure that we really immersed ourselves and people knew how seriously we take this business. So we develop a lot of stuff in-house. We develop a lot of our own IP. But at the same time, when early on, especially, you know, White Men Can't Jump is a good example of a pre-existing IP, and partnered with a producer to get that done. For us, it's really just about creating and making things that we ourselves would want to watch, and sort of staying true to that mantra. I think you can get lost a lot of times in mandates of studios and what they want and what they think audiences want. But for us, you know, we've been fortunate to have we were fortunate enough to have long careers in our respective professions, and it allowed us to explore and to really be picky and take our time and do the things that we wanted to do.
And on the level of detail, Ryan, are you getting into the scripts level? I mean, I imagine like being producers, I mean, it can be kind of a nebulous term, and I imagine you can take that to different levels. So what does it mean for you?
You can, and you know, for Blake and I think, obviously there's a sports background, but we definitely have an artistic itch, and we have talents that we've been able to use for our own ideation phase of this and come up with our own ideas in-house. But we know our limitations, and we know we're competing against Titan producers that have been in this for a long time, and amazing writers and storytellers who know how to craft story, who have been doing it a long time. So for us, we take it as far as we can, and then I think our superpower and the thing that is relative to the former careers we've had is how to build a team. And so we have been really great sort of GMs, so to speak, and we've gone out and really found the talented people who can sort of see the visions through, and then our job is to really get behind them and support them and make sure that vision stays true.
Are you able to announce anything that's in the pipeline that hasn't come out yet, but that you're excited about for 2024?
Not really. We've been dabbling with a few really exciting projects. I think, you know, one thing we try to do, especially there was a little bit of a lull during the writer's strike. One thing we really tried to do during that time was to really find ways we could be more additive to, again, talking about all the different talented folks we have to compete against. What are ways we can really be additive to the process? And something that we found during that downtime was really talking with people that we respected who understood where the future of the business was going and making bets for us. Investment opportunities came about, and so we found a couple companies that are able to sort of help us on the post-production side, really bring down costs. We think studios are really going to be more budget conscious coming out into this year. And so specifically animation, something we've been really excited about and passionate about. There's a studio in New Orleans called Swaybox that are doing some really exciting things with puppetry and machine learning.
This was a Super Bowl commercial, I believe.
They did a Super Bowl commercial.
The players come out of the TV.
That's the only thing they've done. They've gotten away from commercial work and they're getting to more narrative stuff.
Okay.
They have some amazing, talented people that I don't even know if we're allowed to say who's involved with on the directing side. Really big name directors and producers. I mean, we have several projects that we're working on with them right now that we're really excited. But again, still early on and can't say much.
Exciting things are coming, though. So
they are. They are.
So we're here at CES, which is a show where science fiction can often seem to be coming true. And you guys have produced science fiction. So I'm curious, are there things here at CES or are there technologies that might be out on the show floor or otherwise that are inspiring you right now as you think about stories or futures that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool being in this space and getting to see some of the new up and coming stuff, and like Ryan talked about with Swaybox, there's a myriad of companies that will be able to lend their hand to the entertainment world, to streamline things, to make things easier, to make things faster, for a better cost, which in turn helps the viewers, benefits the viewers. The more, especially with all the streaming platforms there are now and all the different ways to consume entertainment, the more high quality stuff that's able to put out, the more people can watch and enjoy. So it's been really cool to see the way technology has advanced the entertainment industry.
And do you look at things like drones or flying electric cars or any of the other stuff that might be here at a CES and find that's interesting? Is that what's compelling to you about science fiction, or are there other things that are compelling about those kind of genres?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, you're a fanboy. Obviously, you want the Back to the Future flying cars. That's a definite must. I think for us, from the storytelling standpoint, there's a lot of exciting tools, and that's what they are really at the end of the day. So we sort of feel pretty safe in that there's still going to be a need for producers to go find really great storytellers to put projects together, to really use these tools and utilize them to the best of the business. Again, to Blake's point, still making quality things, but doing a lot more of them because the cost is productive in a way that can lend itself to that.
We talked a lot about AI here in the C-Space studio, and AI is the talk of CES 2024. And it sounds like maybe some of the things you're alluding to may have AI components to them, right? Able to do things faster, do things better, do things more creatively. Is that some of the things that you're thinking about? Yeah,
for sure. And I think AI was sort of a hot button topic during the writer's strike, particularly.
Yeah.
But for us, a company like Swaybox or some of these other companies we're looking at, AI just allows the artists, the writers, the creators, the illustrators to do less of the tedious work that no one really wants to do, and focus more time on the actual craft and focus more time on the art. So, like I said, not only from a time perspective, from a cost perspective, but it also allows artists, actors, and illustrators to spend more time doing what they love and doing what no computer can do.
We love to talk about inspiration here. I'd love to hear maybe your inspiration, Blake, on the comedy side and on the fanboy kind of sci-fi side, you, Ryan. What are some of the movies, the TV shows, the ideas that kind of inspire you and maybe are in your head as you're thinking about new stories to tell?
Yeah, for me, early on, I loved Saturday Night Live. I would watch that every Saturday night, even some episodes I probably wasn't able to, some stand-up. My dad loves comedy, so getting to watch stuff with him as I was younger, and then as I got older and sort of developed my own taste, I continued that love. So that was just sort of what I was always attracted to. It was always comedy. But like I said, I still do love sci-fi stuff. I still love other stuff. So, we try to find those things that intersect.
Yeah.
And for me, Star Wars, I love George Lucas. And I got into stop motion animation early because of him and Phil Tippett and the stuff I got to see in the behind the scenes VHS work. And so, I've always sort of been a Lucasfilm camp, in that camp, and Amblin and all those very kind of classic 80s, 70s, 80s sci-fi.
Especially with the crowd at CES, you can't go wrong.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
We talked a bit about how your sports backgrounds have influenced the way you approach this business. I'm wondering, as we close out here, how does it feel to do what you're doing now on the creative side and have success? Does it feel at all like succeeding in sports? When you're in the flow creatively, does it feel like being on the court or being on the field, or are those kind of two totally separate things?
I think we get excited by the temperament we bring to it in a way that sports has lent itself really well for us. Again, building teams. I will say it hurts way less for us physically to be in these meetings. Maybe not emotionally. There's a lot of rejection, which as athletes we're very used to. But yeah, I think we've been able to fit in pretty well.
Yeah, it's been great. I think sort of leaning on the work ethic and all that has been important for us too. But there is a lot of like hurry up and wait in this industry. Sports, you kind of get that immediate feedback. Especially with games.
Especially if you lose.
Yeah,
you get a chance. You get a chance really quick to go make it right. And in this business, you might have to wait a few years.
Yeah. So it's been fun. It's just sort of exercising a different part of our brains in a way. And I think we're both very competitive, and I think we love that challenge of having to navigate a whole new world, a world that we haven't really truly been a part of for a long time. So the challenge has been great, and we're always pushing forward.
Well, thanks for sharing a bit of that world and insight with us. Ryan Khalil, Blake Griffin, thank you so much for joining us in the C-Space studio.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching. I'm James Kotecki. We are here at CES 2024 with more great conversations with marketing, media, advertising, branding leaders on the way here in the C-Space studio. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're in the C-Space studio here at CES 2024. We're sponsored by Integral Ad Science. I am James Kotecki, and I'm very happy to welcome Christina Shepard of Roku, Global Head of Sales. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, thanks for having me, James.
Roku, how do you define the Roku? I'm a Roku user, so I do have a pretty good idea of what the Roku brand is, or at least some aspect of it. But how do you define the Roku brand here at the beginning of 2024?
Yeah, so we've been a company for 15 years, and we've been building the platform for consumers first. We've been driving household penetration. We're the #1 streaming platform in America, reaching about 76 million households. And so what we're really making a shift on is that we've been building the streamer's experience for the consumer. And now in 2024, you're really going to see us invite marketers into the experience to be able to tell their stories in new and innovative ways.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What are some of the messages that you are here at CES to deliver? I assume that you're talking to some of those marketers while you're here.
Yes.
What are some of the things you're talking about?
Yeah, so we're here, I think, as a lot of other media companies, to officially kick off the upfront season. It's our kind of, walk to the new front coming in April. And so when we're talking to marketers in these closed-door meetings, we're really focused on the 3 key messages that are our strategy moving into the year. So first and foremost is how Roku is a high-reach, consistent driver, right? So we're basically taking the 76 million households that we have and making that available for advertisers to purchase.
Yeah.
Number 2 is that we're building content experiences that can be seen as programming that's leading consumers into the programming.
Oh, okay.
And then third, it's that we're taking all the data and tech that all of our advertisers have known and loved about us, so our automatic content recognition, our tech stack, and then basically allowing that to turn all of the reach that we're providing into performance and driving business outcomes.
I want to drill down on number 2 of those things. So you're saying that you're creating content that doesn't maybe necessarily feel as much like advertising, but can be used as such. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it's been really exciting for us because we have the bird's eye view and the data to see what are consumers watching on the platform, right? What is the content consumption in one category versus another? What are consumers searching for? And so we've taken all of those learnings to understand that food is a top trending content category in streaming and on Roku. So we launched on November 30th in Q4 a really awesome new content destination called All Things Food. And so it's essentially taking all food content up from out of the apps into one curated content experience. And what's really fun about it is it's not just your traditional recipe content or cooking show competitions, it's actually shoulder content too. So it's Julia and Julia, it's Ratatouille, it's allowing for a really immersive experience that when a consumer goes in it, they can kind of experience food in more broadly.
So I'm sitting at home in my living room. I click, I open up Roku. There's Netflix, there's Hulu, there's Disney Plus, and there also next to that is a Roku kind of food hub.
Yes.
And I open that up, and inside are all these different shows. And when I click on any given show, it takes me to whatever app that show is in.
So this, on streaming, one of the biggest opportunities that we're making an opportunity, but has been a challenge, is content curation and content discovery. So we're finding on average that consumers are spending about 11 minutes finding what they want to watch. So us pulling it out of the app, putting it, to your point, right next to all the other tiles that they know and are used to seeing and clicking into, we're then bringing, we're making that content available 1 to 2 clicks away from power on versus 7 to 8. And what was really exciting about All Things Food is that we launched it with Coca-Cola. So they came to us during, their iconic Q4 campaign where they have their beautiful holiday creative, and they were able to interweave within the content experience, had an amazing execution that you could click into and actually, partner with DoorDash and sell products.
It's all connected.
So again, it's all connected.
And you can, and just for context, when I click on when I'm in Roku and I click on Netflix, you can see what I'm watching inside of Netflix. You can still get that data. Is that
so? We see the platform wide, right? So we'll see if you're searching for Stranger Things.
You see the search
we'll understand that you're in Netflix for a certain amount of time, right? Like we understand kind of broadly the platform wide data.
That makes sense. And so Roku also does Roku has an original channel, right?
We have the Roku channel. Yes.
And so is that part of the strategy here as well in terms of what you're able to sell?
Absolutely. It's interesting because we both have a channel and we are a platform, which makes us unique, and all OEMs kind of have their own version of. But the Roku channel is a top 3 truly ad-supported channel on the platform, and Nielsen Gauge, we have high reach. So it's interesting because the channel is almost a discovery vehicle in and of itself because it has VOD, it has original programming, it has licensed programming, it has premium subs, and then FAST, so it becomes this immersive experience in and of itself that we can, bring advertisers into as well.
And what was the top hit from 2023? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Right. I mean, Weird is actually really exciting for us.
I was hoping you would
yes?
say that.
Okay. Are you a big fan?
The Weird Al movie.
Yeah,
yes,
and that just won an Emmy last week, so really timely. You sure did. I love that. But that was a really, I would say watershed moment for our original programming, is to put a movie out there and to get the accolades and the awards alongside it.
We absolutely watched it. We loved it, and congratulations on your success there, and to Weird Al, if you have to, and Daniel Radcliffe if they're watching, I guess.
Yes.
So how do you think about where the consumer's head is at as we go into 2024? Are there things that you are still grappling with or trying to get ahead of in terms of their sentiments about having so many different things to choose from, about whether or not they want to choose an ad-supported platform, about how much money I'm spending on all these different things? Where do you see it all going?
I mean, streaming is such a dynamic, interesting space because we're kind of at the halftime of streaming where people have been dabbling and testing and then eventually cutting the cord. And when we think about it, it's very intuitive that the traditional TV experience is so different than a streaming experience. It is dynamic, it is immersive, it's engageable. And so it's interesting, consumers came to streaming with the promise of a better ad experience, lighter ad loads, more relevant ads because there's targeting and logged in consumer relationships. And so now when we're thinking about how do we kind of take that to the next level, it's adding more engageable interactivity across the platform. Like 40% of Gen Zers say they want to engage with their TV screen. And that's an opportunity that the advertising community can really buy into because right now, predominantly they're taking their linear spot and they're putting it into in-stream video and the channels they know and love. But there's so much more that they can do by taking advantage of the full experience.
Hey, you said halftime. That's a sports metaphor. And speaking of sports, what is Roku thinking about in offering advertisers in the world of sports?
Yeah, so the sports, as we all know, is a very competitive marketplace, and rights are very expensive. And so the way that we've come about it,
people really want it.
But people really love it. So we've come about it from a different perspective. Is we've found that people predominantly right now with the fragmentation of sports rights, the average consumer does not understand where to watch the game, right? Whatever the game being, right? So we launched this past year a sports destination, which is a curation of all different shoulder content, as well as it'll show all live games for different sporting events, and then exactly to where you can watch them, so you can be deep linked in. And so we're also partnering with the leagues themselves. So the NFL, we basically launched an NFL zone, which if you were to turn on your Roku right now, you'd see Verizon sponsoring it with their messaging, but that provides an amazing consumer experience because it's curating and telling them where to watch it, which is filling a big consumer need.
Want to get into shoppable TV for a minute as well, as we're just touching on all these different important trends here. I know that Roku, you launched something in 2022, I believe. So what was that you launched? What have you learned since then, and where are you going in terms of people being able to see an ad and shop it from that ad? In other words, I'm seeing an ad, I like that dress, I click the thing, and I get the dress.
Right, the dream of shoppability. So we partnered with Walmart in 2022. And what's really interesting about that partnership is so they're actually the back-end fulfillment of our shoppable ads on the TV screen. That partnered with the fact that we have Roku Pay as our pay infrastructure and foundation. So when you sign up for Roku, you're putting in your credit card and your email, so we know all that information about you.
That allows me to then get all the other apps that I want.
Right. Yeah, so you want to sign up for a certain app, and it's all right there with one click of a button. So what we do is leverage that payment system so that you can shop in the experience directly from an ad. So you're seeing a video creative, you see an overlay that says shop, click to learn more, and you be brought into this immersive microsite all powered by Walmart. And then when you want to purchase the product, you say, click OK with your remote, and immediately that product's going to come to your house within the days or what have you. So that's kind of making a less frictionless experience, right, for viewers to be able to get and learn to how to shop on their TV, which is a completely new consumer habit that we're building.
And have you found that habit to be easy or hard or medium to train people on in order to do that?
Yeah. We have to do a lot of learning. I think when you were to ask people, like, have you shopped on your TV screen? And you just actually said it, but a lot of people say no. And you're like, well, wait, have you signed up for Netflix on your TV screen? Have you rented a movie on your TV screen? And then they say yes. And so there is that, consumer behavior to some degree, but we're retraining how to buy a product. So we've tested QR codes, we've tested click to mobile, and what we found is a couple of things. The creative matters. So having creative where the actor's breaking the fourth wall, telling the consumer to pick up the remote and click to learn more. And then we've also learned that the remote itself drives conversions. So we work with Liquid IV, found that 10x conversions came from the remote versus any other form of shoppability.
I'm sitting there, I need some liquid refreshment.
Just like tomorrow maybe?
Just let me click that button
after 4 days
and get
in Vegas?
Exactly, I might need some of that. final question, what's your favorite building in the iconic background of Roku, which is like Roku City, which is all these different sci-fi and kind of cool brand
well, as
things
we
that are
were
happening.
riffing, you said yours was Big Ben.
I like Big Ben. It's a classic choice.
Right,
I think.
love that. So we launched Roku City, and it has huge fandom.
Now, was that launched on kind of a whim, or was that really an intentional thing to make an iconic Roku thing?
I think it was both. I think we knew that we had all of these Easter eggs. We could be entertainment. We could do it in a fun way. Many people don't turn off their TV, and so that becomes the largest art installation in their home in some cases. And so we created that. It's taken on a life of its own. It's gone viral. Every 1 to 2 minutes, someone's tweeting about Roku City. They want to date in Roku City, move to Roku City. So we invited brands in. We were having conversations this time last year to invite them in. So all of that said, we launched with McDonald's. They wanted to celebrate Grimace's birthday. Love that. Didn't know that was a thing. But I would say that with McDonald's coming to us as such an iconic brand wanting to celebrate Grimace, we've now seen more and more brands take flight. So I would say, long story short, that the Disney Cinderella Castle has to be my favorite. It just makes my 6-year-old self go into Disney World for the first time very happy. But for a brand like Disney to come to Roku and turn Cinderella's Castle purple to celebrate their centennial is a huge, huge deal.
Everybody wants to move to Roku City, even Cinderella, I think we've learned today.
Yes, exactly.
That's an exciting thing. So congratulations on all your success. Christina Shepard of Roku. We hope to have you back and talk more.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us. We are here in the C-Space studio at CES 2024. I'm James Kotecki. More conversations are just ahead. Keep it here. Welcome back to the C-Space studio. I'm James Kotecki. We are here at CES 2024 with a many-time return guest, and for a very good reason. Shelley Zalis, the founder and CEO of the Female Quotient. Welcome back to the C-Space studio.
Well, you know how much I love talking to you every single year.
Well, you always bring us some great insights, and you have the Equality Lounge here at CES. Let's just contextualize for people the Female Quotient, the Equality Lounge, and the work that you're doing here right now.
Well, I mean, we started at CES, and that's where it all began, and I think it is almost 10 years. I think this is our 10 years that we have been hosting our Equality Lounge at CES, and it started as a walking tour, Girls Gone Walking on the floor of CES. Yesterday, we had over 300 women walking the floor, and it was really quite remarkable.
And you and I have talked about that, those first few walks that you took in the earlier days, kind of people being almost surprised to see that many women on the floor at once. Does it have the same impact? Does it feel the same way? I mean, 300 is a lot of folks, so what was the feeling like?
It was remarkable. You know, I always say a woman alone has power, collectively we have impact. And, you know, when you're walking the floor by yourself, you're invisible. When you are a pack of women, it's this whoosh moment, and you can't miss us. It's unstoppable. And you don't see so many women in one space, especially in tech. And as much as it's amazing walking the floor and seeing incredible technology, which of course CES always has, to me the best moment is watching the heads turn. Like, where the heck did all you women come from? And you're walking, and then you see these cameras and the whispers, and a lot of whispers is loud. And it's just this remarkable sensation. And 300 women, and the camera's turning, and they follow you. And you know, it's just, you know that the power is shifting. And also the confidence is roaring, you know, and it's this combustible energy. It's really uplifting. It feels great.
And so you definitely bring that energy to CES and to all of the conversations that we have. The power is shifting, you just said, but I wonder where the power lies right now. You always can bring us some data, some statistics, some insights about equality in tech and where things stand. So where do we stand at the beginning of 2024?
Well, you know what, the best part about what is happening in technology, and especially in AI, because we see a lot, you know, happening in AI, is what we are realizing is you don't have to be a technologist to be in the business of technology. And I think that is the most impressive piece of what we're all experiencing. And you know, when I co-founded See Her, if you could see her, you could be her, what we are also realizing is it's not just about reflection. It is about using your power to create the change. And that is what we're all doing right now, is encouraging all of us to get in early and to use that power for force, and that we all need to be in some aspect of the business, in marketing, in creative, in technology. So there's so much more in technology than just coding. And that is what we're working on right now.
So this is really interesting. Do you really see AI, and specifically generative AI, which is of course the buzziest version of AI, as really a moment where the dynamic can kind of shift in maybe an unexpected way? I know that in the last several years we've chatted, and you've brought some relatively dire statistics about, it was something like, you know, we have to wait another 100 years to get to wage parity if we continue on our current track between men and women. It was something of that nature. Do you see generative AI as really something that could change things sooner than expected?
Well, you know, we coined a phrase 10 years ago called the algorithm for equality. And now with AI, I mean, who knew AI was going to take off the way that it did? There's a lot of bias in AI, of course. And so what we're doing right now is drafting with representation, and we say it's by us without bias, where we're all getting involved early on in creating the algorithm for equality, because representation does matter, so that we take the stereotype, junk in, junk out, and we're all drafting a whole new credo with framework and questions, so that we are conscious of what goes in, so that we make sure that we're putting representation in what comes out. And so we're working on that right now, which is pretty exciting. That's really number one, and I think that that's really important, that we're very conscious of that. And we have a whole campaign coming out that equality is possible if you want it. It just requires conscious leadership It requires prioritization and choice.
Yeah.
And that is the legacy that we can all leave. The only one global goal that a CEO can take responsibility for is closing the gender gap. So the World Economic Forum says it'll take 131 years to close the gender gap. We say we can do it in 5 if CEOs take responsibility for closing it.
Buy us instead of bias. Equality is possible if you want it. You're like the master of branding and phrasing. How important is it to have these really understandable and frankly very, very repeatable pieces of phrases or pieces of content to be able to get your message out there? Do you feel like a lot of what you do is you just need to keep repeating these things in these spaces so that they catch on?
Listen, it's simple. The truth is, it is simple. We make it seem like it's complicated, but some of these things are actually quite simple. It's all about simplicity, easy steps, and creating intentional action. That's all it is.
Yeah. How does your work, I mean, you've often talked about gender parity, talking about other forms of diversity. There's many different kinds of diversity and equality that we can be talking about in terms of racial diversity, neural divergency, diversity, all different types of folks, that want to be involved in the conversation. And it plays into nicely, I think, the human security for all concept that CES has had for the past couple of years, which is how technology can help all human beings kind of flourish. So where does your work fit into that broader framework? And maybe do you have, if your work has largely been about up-leveling women in this area, do you have advice or thoughts about how to bring other people into the fold?
We're about inclusivity and welcoming everybody. And we say that all are welcome, no exceptions. So race, religion, age, intersectionality, all are welcome. So we're about everything.
We talked a little bit before we started. You're headed to Davos, I believe. That's the World Economic Forum summit happening there. You also do the Equality Lounge at South by Southwest, I believe. How does CES kind of fit into this framework? How do you see CES as fitting into the nexus of these kind of events?
Listen, I think that CES is about tech, and tech is the underbelly to absolutely everything. So I think CES is the foundation where it's about tequity, really. Yeah. I think that it is the
tequity? Is that another one that you coined? That's a good one.
Well, I don't think I coined it, but I think it's a good one.
I'll attribute it to you.
So I'll take it.
Yeah, you should take it.
I'll take it. But I think it really is. I think it's the future. I think that technology is really the future for everything. Yeah. And one of the things that we are working really hard at is the democratization, using technology to democratize the entire system. And we're actually working on something really exciting for Davos, which is the democratization of education. So we're working on using AI to eliminate textbooks, especially for women in underrepresented parts of the world. Wow. So hopefully we'll have a little demo to showcase by then.
And I believe the data is if you can level up women using education, especially in underdeveloped parts of the world, that is one of the biggest uplifts that you can get economically. Is that right?
So we're going to have an experiment for women in villages in Africa and India and either Pakistan or Afghanistan. We're waiting to see. And if that rolls out and we can eliminate textbooks, women can't afford textbooks all over the world, that is the beginning of something really remarkable.
Is the idea that it would be a kind of a chat GPT type interface where instead of having a textbook you could just ask it a question or ask it to riff on a topic and it would basically output the information? We're
going to apply it first to the healthcare field to help women become nurses in those villages.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Do you have you talked about trying to bridge the gap in 5 years as opposed to 130 plus years. Do you have another prediction about the future or a hope for the future that other people kind of think is implausible but that you're going for?
Future could be female if we enable it and give the opportunities that women have earned.
I love it. And sometimes I just like to let the sound bites sit there because that's a good one, and they should. That's great. I have a few more interviews here in the C-Space studio today. Is there a question that you think I should ask others who are sitting in your chair?
I really, I have a big wall when you walk in to our Equality Lounge in Davos, and it says, "Equality is possible if you want it." And it's just a very simple question. And I think that anything's possible if you make it a choice. And so my question really is, what is your legacy? And that's what I really, your work legacy, you know, what do you want to be known for in the workplace? And that to me is something that I think every CEO should think about. And there's generic, there's status quo stuff, but if you want to truly be notable, that is my question. What do you want to be notable for? So what is your legacy in your workplace?
I love that question, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for bringing that question and all of your insights and passion to the C Space studio, not just this year, but every year. And of course, we hope to have you back, Shelley Zalis, the female quotient. Thank you so much.
James, love being here. What do you want to be notable for?
Honestly, doing these interviews is one of the things I love the most, and I want to be known for asking good questions. And so.
And that you do.
I appreciate
that you do.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you asking. And I really appreciate you watching. So this is the C Space studio. We're here at CES 2024. I am James Kotecki. We are live on the CES Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X/Twitter, and YouTube channels, and more great conversations are just ahead. So thanks for joining us. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are in the C-Space studio with me, James Kotecki. We're here at CES 2024 talking to marketing, media, advertising, and branding leaders. And in fact, right now we are talking to Adam Bergman, Group Vice President, Advertising and Data Sales, Vizio. Welcome to the C-Space studio.
James, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, so Vizio is on display here at CES, as we were talking about before we started rolling cameras here. But can you define the Vizio brand here? What does it mean in 2024?
Sure. Vizio is about endless entertainment. You know, we are a 20-plus-year-old company. This year we'll be celebrating our 22nd birthday. We are a minority-owned, US-based television manufacturer. We create televisions and soundbars, and as I mentioned, endless entertainment. Our job is to put incredible technology, easy-to-use experiences in front of millions of households that rely on us every single day to get their content, whether that's streaming, whether that's film, television, live sports. They rely on our products every single day. Yeah. And so for us, it's about maintaining that relationship with our customers, constantly pushing ourselves to innovate and deliver great products. And we're customers too. We're huge fans of television and the home theater experience. So this year is about continuing that tradition.
Advertising and data sales, what does that look like in the context of that larger mission?
Yeah, you know, we're a really simple and streamlined company, I would say. We build televisions, we make soundbars, and we create a platform experience chock full of content for our customers. When you turn on any Vizio smart television, whether you bought it yesterday or 5 years ago, we're delivering you an unbelievably rich content experience through our native operating system. That means hundreds of free channels of live television. That means thousands of movies in an on-demand library, every premium app and channel from key partners that you would want in the marketplace. So for us, that really rich entertainment experience is of course chock full of unique branding opportunities. Yeah. We live by a really simple mantra. When you create a great customer experience, advertising and brand opportunities organically appear. So for us, advertising is about how do we enrich that experience, how do we deliver free ad-supported television to our customers, and then on the other aspect of that, we are in a unique position. We own the hardware, we own the operating system, and we own all the data that runs through it. So for us, it's really important that in order to deliver a great experience, we have to collect really, really rich data and use that to our advantage. So we collect opted-in viewership data from our consumers to better understand what they watch on television, what apps are they streaming, what ads are they exposed to. Yeah. We can then use that data to inform recommendation engines on the platform, to build out unique content experiences. And inside of Watch Free Plus, our free streaming services, we use that data to program content. And we can then hand that back into the advertising community so we can plan, buy, and measure media more effectively.
That was great, by the way. It was a great synopsis of what you're up to. And it leads me to my next question, which is, what is the optimal consumer experience here? What are you offering consumers when it comes to how ads show up? So a simple way would be, I turn on TV and it's kind of it's linear, or at least it feels like it's linear, and I'm getting ads in the way that I would expect to get. But I imagine that there's other things that you could offer in terms of advertising there. So what are you looking at and what are you doing?
Well, I think you're spot on. I think one, the average consumer has a really good understanding of the relationship between advertising and content. In years past, I don't really know that was the case, right? You watch television, scripted television was built in with pod breaks and commercial breaks, and the average consumer understood that. As we moved into the streaming environment, of course, on-demand, non-ad supported environments really are what broke the mold. Yeah. Now you're seeing a couple different things. You're seeing customers churn in and out of different apps based on content calendars. In this past year especially, you've seen maybe some more downward pressure on wallet, right? How much someone is spending on entertainment on a monthly basis. So with that comes the rise of ad supported, right? So whether that's ad supported live, whether that's ad supported on demand, it's really about fair value exchange. So again, when you buy a Vizio smart television at any one of our great retail partners, out of the box, you are chock full of endless entertainment, as I mentioned, apps, channels, movies, etc. So I think there's a fair value exchange in there to say this relevant advertising is going to support this free content experience. For all intents and purposes, I'm providing you a free cable service out of the box. I think there's a really unique relationship there with customers.
And how are you using AI to think about optimizing this? I mean, everybody's talking about AI here. We're at
Certainly.
CES 2024. I can't not ask you about that.
Yeah, certainly.
So what does that mean in your context?
Yeah, I mean, look, You're absolutely right. I think AI has gotten a lot of attention in this space, and rightfully so. I think as a digitally native company in a lot of ways, we're always thinking about what are the technological advancements that can help us think in a more unique way for our customers. For us, look, AI is an umbrella where there's a lot of different technical capacities underneath it. What I would say is we use technologies like AI, like machine learning, to constantly better understand what our customers are interested in. We say constantly, our consumers vote with their behavior.
Yeah.
My owned and operated data set is television viewership, as I mentioned. What shows did you watch? What channels are you viewing? What apps, what ads did you see? Consumers vote with their behavior. When 5, 6, 7 million televisions are telling me that they like to watch food and garden and travel content, well, I can then use that information, then turn around and program a recommendation engine or hand them a 24/7 live channel that gives them that content right back to them. So for us, whether it's AI or otherwise, there's a lot of little technical use cases in there for how do we make this experience feel personable and feel really specific to that customer.
Do you think there are kind of pockets of really extraordinary value that are still yet to be found? So we've been talking about AI for years, we've been talking about data for years, right? Obviously it's coming into its own now in ways that people are really excited about.
You're hitting the nail on the head, and yes, the answer is enthusiastically yes. I would put it in 2 separate categories, right? One, streaming video. 15s, 30s, 60s, right? Akin to television. What advertisers are finding with partners like us, and especially those like us with a really unique data set, is the amount of incremental exposure they can deliver to a customer base. We have some fascinating tools that even the largest brands in the world are leveraging to understand, wow, I am really underexposing this massive footprint of smart televisions. And so, one, they're using our tools to better optimize their video spend as an advertiser and to be more specific, right? So they can now maintain a reach frequency story across broadcast, into streaming, and into digital devices in the home. On the other side, you talked a little bit about what is 2024 about. For us, the home screen experience. Last year we delivered a new UI and new home screen experience to our customers, and we also completely rebuilt our operating system from the ground up to deliver faster, more responsive streaming. Within that, the customer is now spending a lot more time in our experience searching for great content. So what that means is we now have an opportunity with brands to present even more content in a free environment to our customers. So we're talking a lot with brands about sponsorships and integrations, not new to the advertising community, but perhaps new to the OEM and smart television space.
And if we step back, one kind of macro story of this space is companies you might not have thought of being content companies becoming content companies. Are you creating original content? Are you thinking about that? Is that on the radar?
Yeah, it's a great question. So last year we launched the Vizio branded content studio, where we are specifically working with brands to underwrite content. This past holiday season, we worked with one of the market's largest retailers in the Home Depot and produced a show in conjunction with Jordan Sparks as the talent, where we produced 4 to 5 episodes of really engaging holiday content, how to decorate your home, surprise decorations, DIY tips, and it was an unbelievably engaging experience. For us, that is what content generation is about today. How do we think about how brands can be a part of the experience? And hearkening back to our data, what do we know our customers are going to like to watch? In that instance, we know they love DIY, we know that they love home renovation. It was a perfect fit for a brand where it made sense and customer content that they love to watch.
In a show and a CES that's all about all different kinds of screens and all different sizes and all different kinds of ways that people can be watching content from small to huge. How do you make a case? What's your best case for the TV? Why is the TV so important?
I mean, look, I think over the years, consumers will constantly defer to the best possible viewing experience, right? Of course, when you're on the go and you're in transit, sure, I'd love for you to carry your 65-inch Vizio OLED with you. Probably not the case. I think when you're at home and you're sitting on the couch, you're going to defer to the best screen possible. And time again, that continues to be the smart television up on your wall. For us, we have been working for more than 2 decades to deliver outsized performance in both the video and audio quality of our devices at a price that our consumers can work with, right? For us, we have always been about how do we overachieve in the relationship of quality and price. What that means now also is how do we make the smart television as smart as the smartphone, right? We think a lot about utility. We think a lot about the interoperability of that device. At the end of the day, until my television is still catching up to the smartphone, we know we have work to do. That's okay. That's a challenge for us.
And that may be the biggest competition with, you know, you're going to defer to the best possible viewing experience, but if part of that viewing experience is a suboptimal operating system or just, you know, feels more challenging to get it, then that makes a lot of sense why you're putting so much effort into that part of the TV.
Absolutely. Look, and I think, look, there's plenty of data in the market now that says, yes, of course, someone is watching content on their smartphone and on their tablet, but by and large, the massive amount of content that is being watched in this country is being viewed over the top on a smart television on the screen. And I think second to that, you know, you're also seeing the death of the dongle, right? The average consumer is not buying a new smart television and then plugging a $30, $40 sticker box into it. That's not the behavior.
Right.
Why? Because we have challenged ourselves and are delivering our customers all of those premium apps that they want, blended with great free content the second they unpack that television from the box.
I want to make a show called Death of the Dongle. That's just
let's do it.
That's a cool title for something. So let's make a
Vizio branded content.
Let's make a Vizio originally about
I love that.
It's great.
Yeah.
Adam Bergman, Vizio, really appreciate you joining us today in the C-Space studio.
Thanks so much, James. I appreciate it.
And thank you so much for joining us here in the C-Space studio. We are at CES 2024. My name is James Kotecki, and more great conversations are just ahead. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're in the C-Space studio, sponsored by Integral Ad Science. I am James Kotecki, and here we are. It's CES 2024, and here we are with Jen Cregan, VP Global Marketing and Operations at Microsoft Advertising. Welcome to the C-Space studio.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So what brings you to CES? What's your message here for folks?
Our message is twofold. One is that Microsoft Advertising has really evolved over the last couple years. We're no longer just an in-depth search business. We now have a full set of ad tech across all of your goals and consumer assets that are pretty unique. And we're here to make sure everybody understands that. And then secondly, just like everyone else, talking about our investments in generative AI.
Of course, and I really want to get to that. But since you mentioned assets that are pretty unique, what are some of those unique assets that you're highlighting?
Yeah, so we have ads that serve on our Start experiences in the Outlook web app, on all the games across, casual games across Xbox, just tons of different unique consumer assets. And from an ad tech perspective, we bought Promote IQ a few years ago and now have a full retail media offering, and bought a DSP when we bought Xandr.
And so the Start experience is basically, you know, for those who maybe not Windows users, sorry to say, it's basically when you click on the Start button, in Windows, there's ads right in there, right?
There's consumer experiences that then have ads.
Consumer experiences
adjacent,
that have ads in there. And how recent is that?
Well, it started many, many years ago as MSN and has evolved into the Start experiences.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, let's get into AI, because that is really the theme that is dominating CES 2024. We all knew it would be, no surprise. And Microsoft, obviously, big investors in OpenAI, so much to talk about here. So maybe what are some of the headlines for you as you're kind of talking to people about AI?
Yeah, when I'm talking about it here, we're really starting with how consumers are changing their behavior. When you think about what consumers were doing in a search engine, as an example, they come in with a pretty simple question. I want this product. I want this specific answer. And we're noticing now in the chat experiences that they're really coming in with a lot more context. So as an example, 3 times as long, instead of saying, I want this particular lens for a camera, they might come in and describe their use case. I'm a hobbyist photographer, as an example, and I'll describe, like, I take pictures of my kids in the rain, in the spring, in the Pacific Northwest, and I'll get a really unique recommendation, and that research time comes way down.
And so, I mean, and I suppose ChatGPT and Microsoft Search and other things have kind of trained consumers to do this because of the kind of answers you can get. But is it a way of consumers kind of rethinking search as almost like, I'm going to talk to it more like I would talk to a person, and I'm just going to talk to it more naturally?
It's much more natural language, conversational, and they're giving us just a ton more detail because of that, because it's really a conversation, if you will, in terms of what they are looking for.
And then, so how has that shifted? So that's the shift in consumer behavior. And then how has that shifted? Obviously, that's a lot more data for you to process. But what other kind of shifts are there in terms of what advertisers can actually take advantage of? Yeah,
so we're building a whole new category of ads that we call conversational ads. The first experience of that is compare and decide ads, because the consumer is looking to get to decisions faster. We're all time starved. So how are you using generative AI to get that? And so the compare and decide ads really meet a top consumer trend of, I really want to get comparisons and get to a decision fast. And so it brings the context of their query into the ad, and then we give them a unique table where they can compare options. Because
you said you want to take pictures of your kids in the rain, here's a couple of things, and do you say like one of these or 2 of these are sponsored, but you know these are also good? Or,
the whole so it comes back, there's 2 things that happen. You bring in the query, and then we come back with an organic result that is from the LLM, and that is not sponsored at all. And then we have a sponsored experience, which is 4 or 5 different options. Let's use a car example. Might have 4 or 5 different SUVs based on what you told us is important to you. And it will show all the detail in a really succinct table that is dependent on the query you gave us. So it's not just a generic table, it adapts as you give us more information.
And are you needing to kind of retrain, for lack of a better word, consumers in terms of how to think about this? Or is this about kind of naturalistically meeting what they would already expect of this kind of thing?
I think that we're naturalistically meeting what they're doing, and what they're doing is changing. I'd say on the business side, we're having more of a need to train marketers and to train our marketers, as an example, as I'm the marketing leader.
Can you say a bit more about that? What are the things that you're retraining them on?
Yeah, so the prompt or the query is super important. So as an example, we're using Microsoft Designer to build images in my marketing team. And the prompt is just, if you give a generic prompt, you're going to get a generic image.
Yeah.
But if you give a more detailed, contextually relevant prompt, you're going to get better images.
Yeah.
And so how do we train marketers to use chat experiences to be more effective?
Yeah.
And also, how do we train them to use it in what might be unexpected experiences? An example might be a blog post where you put the blog post in and ask the LLM, ask the chat experience, what's the 3 key messages of this? And they come back, and if they're not crisp, then you know you have more work to do.
Do you find on your team that the people who are really good at prompt engineering, if that's still the term, I mean, it's evolving so fast, I'm not even sure that's what we're still calling it. But so are the folks who are good at prompt engineering, maybe folks who, maybe they were, I'm sure you all have all A players at Microsoft, but let's just say generically, B players at creative in the past could now be A players at prompt engineering. So maybe are people able to draw different skill sets out and figure out, oh, and because of this new world that we're in, maybe I'm actually really good at this in ways I didn't realize before.
Yeah, the example I would use is analysts or marketing content managers who can look at analytical insights differently.
Okay.
So that's maybe a better example than creative prompts, where you can ask a question and we can go look at all our data and give you an insight very fast.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you don't have to be a data junkie or an analyst to get great answers.
So you're at the cutting edge of this large language model stuff here. Are you able to give us any glimpses of the future that maybe the regular person here at CES has not seen yet? How good is this stuff going to get? How quickly is it going to get good?
Yeah, so I think you can see it in the patterns. Like, it's getting better and better every day. The images you could create or the answers you would get a month ago are totally evolving constantly. And I think if I were to look ahead, the main thing I would say is it's going to infiltrate every one of the types of things that we do, whether that be video, whether that be text, whether that be image. It's going to be part of everything that we do and mainstreamed faster than any technology we've ever had before.
So exciting. Another exciting piece about CES is the human security for all theme, which has been the case last year. It's the case this year again. This is the idea that basically technology can help people. How does technology help people live better lives across a number of different dimensions? Sustainability is one of those, digital health, et cetera. Can you tell me about what that means for Microsoft, especially in the realm of sustainability?
Yeah, so as I think you probably know, Microsoft's made a commitment to be carbon negative by 2030. We have all kinds of policies inside the company that are getting us there. From an advertising perspective, what it really means is how are we helping our advertisers make better decisions that are more sustainable? Do that in a couple of ways. Through supply path optimization, we do it through our own assets to make sure that our consumer assets are low emission, and then we do it by partnering with sustainability partners in the industry to make sure we're helping protect folks. So it's infiltrating everything we do at the company.
Another theme I want to discuss briefly is diversity and inclusion.
Yep.
Not that it deserves to be discussed briefly, but we just don't have a lot of time here in the Space Studio.
Yes.
This is an issue I think CEOs and company leaders have been grappling with over a raucous several past years. I mean, I was reading articles now, people are even kind of reframing it, rethinking it again. Where do you stand? Where does Microsoft stand at the beginning of 2024?
Yeah, look, our mission is to empower every person on the planet to achieve more. And so you can't do that if you don't represent people across the globe, and that goes through every part of our business.
Yeah.
Talent, hiring people, how we retain people. We do it very systemically as a company. We release a D&I report every year. Every employee at Microsoft has a D&I commitment every year. And we do it in the advertising business by partnering across the industry, so we're helping people in their careers throughout, Yeah,
and I imagine on the AI side, on the generative AI side, you need to act with some deliberation to make sure you're not training it on data that could have suboptimal
That's
results.
right. So how are you looking at the data? How are your engineers bringing diverse perspectives into the way you build products?
As we wrap up here, love you to fill in the blank. 2024 will be the year of blank.
AI everywhere. It's not just something we'll talk about, it's something we'll do in everything, use in everything we do.
I can't say I'm totally surprised by that answer, but I definitely don't disagree, and we really appreciate it. Jen Cregan, Microsoft Advertising, thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for being here in the C-Space studio at CES 2024. More conversations are on the way. I am James Kotecki. Stay with us. Welcome back to the C-Space studio here at CES 2023. I am James Kotecki. Joining me right now, Steve Bagdasarian, Chief Commercial Officer, ComScore. Thanks so much for coming back to the C-Space studio.
Well, thanks for having me.
So we chatted last year, of course, but I always like to have people at the beginning of the year at CES kind of define what the brand means right now. So how do you frame up what ComScore is all about?
Yeah, look, I think we have a pretty clear line of sight based upon the realities of what's happening in the market. If we're not at peak cross-platform consumer consumption, it's definitely near peak. And so I think the big theme for us as we look at the year, CES is a wonderful place to kick that off out of the gate, is to really focus on how do we help advertisers, how do we service the marketers to be able to reach all audiences across all screens.
So peak cross-platform consumption, can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so much like for those that have been in the industry for a long time, if they recall back to the years of mobile, I feel like we've been in the years of cross-media. The currency discussions are becoming more meaningful, but the cross-platform usage and experiential nature of how media is being consumed, right, as it relates to linear to digital, the use of social, the use of mobile as it relates to all of those present opportunities for advertisers to be able to get a deeper impact with their advertising strategies to consumers. We're looking at that behavior as kind of the key area for us to focus on and support. And ultimately be able to connect some dots.
Is there an app metaphor here that there's gaps, there's bridges, and somehow in those gaps, in those spaces between all the things that are crossing over, there's opportunities to find if you can do it, but it's very challenging to do that sometimes.
Massively. So you have to think about this in the sense of it's not linear good and everything else bad or vice versa. Every channel has its particular purpose, but the reality is, as an industry, just based on where technology and where data sets ultimately have derived, things have been very siloed. There's an opportunity to bridge that, and there's an opportunity to make these channels work cohesively to ultimately drive better return on ad spend.
So paint me a picture of the ideal vision for an advertiser. If everything works as it actually should, and maybe the things that you're working on are hopefully going to enable this. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get there. You can choose any time horizon you want. But paint me a picture of the future that you're really hoping to go towards.
Yeah, look, I think the future reality is now, right? This is all possible and doable, and that's where we see our value add to be able to service the industry in this capacity. If you think about it, an advertiser spends a national advertising campaign on television, they're going to naturally underperform. The ability for them to be able to optimize the non-linear channels in conjunction with the in-flight performance of their linear stations allow for this opportunity to be able to maximize true reach. Maximizing true reach ultimately becomes the most important input that goes into the performance marketing equation, which at the end of the day is derived with outcomes.
From the consumer perspective, they probably don't even think about the idea of it being cross-channel or any of these different things being anything separate from just their overall experience of using media or maybe just seeing screens, right? So from the consumer perspective, I don't want to dumb it down too much, but it's all screens to them, right? And so from their perspective, it should already be that way.
100%. And the fact is that to them, it's just media, right? However I consume it, however I want to consume it, I expect to have a relevant and a cohesive experience. Therefore, the ads that are ultimately powering a lot of that consumption opportunity need to also be able to fall in line with the expectations of how people want to consume information.
So how do you do this in a way that everybody trusts what's going on? I know that trust is a big important part of what's going on at ComScore. So tell me about what that means to you and how you're making that happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, our role as a third-party measurement company is to provide that independence, right, around verification and validation that the ad spend was correct, the audiences that were delivered against were accurate, and that the outcome opportunities were true. So for us, we take the third-party independence and the role that measurement needs to play in this space as the critical role that ComScore needs to continue to facilitate. And frankly, that's why we support accreditation. We support the opportunity for open looks at our methodologies and so forth. But that trust factor comes down to the role that we have to embody as an organization and the services that we supply to the market.
Do you feel like, even if you're able to provide all those elements of trust, do you feel like the market or the industry has been in a position where there hasn't been as much trust as there should be, and people kind of need to catch up to the reality of where you are, where the technology is, of what's possible? Is there still some mistrust, in other words, that you're trying to quash?
I think sometimes trust and confusion are two things that ultimately coincide with each other. Look, at the end of the day, this is a complicated industry, and the role of measurement in this industry is going to be complicated no matter what. But the opportunity to be transparent with how our methodologies are built, the data assets by which we are leveraging, the systems and the architecture of our technology, all of those things need to be visible back to an audit-based opportunity to be able to really build that that trust by demystifying the confusion around how measurement ultimately is derived in the space.
We are here at C-Space. I understand you gave a presentation with Google and the NFL. How did that go? What was that about?
Yeah, so the premise of that particular conversation was really predicated on two things. One, the role of and power that you can get from the incrementality of more streaming orientation into your strategies. And then also, too, just these major tentpole events that are tied to sports, like the Super Bowl,
coming here to Las Vegas.
Coming to Las Vegas in a few weeks, are massively, massively important aspects to be able to think differently about your deliverability of your ad-based strategy and your consumer engagement opportunities. What we know coming out of this is, when you look at the younger demographics, include Gen Z, of the consumers that viewed the Super Bowl on YouTube, right, 60% of them did not see ads on linear, right? That was truly incremental reach back to the end advertiser. On the flip side, what we're seeing and what the NFL did a fantastic job articulating is that this is no longer, these tentpole events are no longer just about the event. It's about the build-up. It's about the event. It's about the post. It's a
tent pole, and then there's a tent beyond the tent pole. Right?
And we're getting into this phase now with these major events about being these leaned-in experiences, which require a whole different methodology. Cross-platform is not about the deliverability of one asset across a multitude of different experiences or screens. It's about actually looking at the consumer behavior and being able to capitalize on it in the best integrated way possible.
I think there could be a brand or a marketer listening to this and think, that sounds exhausting. That sounds like way more work than I was even thinking it would be, and I already thought it would be a lot of work. Is that really what it's going to take? Is like more people, more brains, more technology, more firepower on all this stuff? Because if you think about beyond the tent pole to a tent, and it's more days, it's more content, it's more everything. That's challenging.
Look, it is challenging, but there's also massive opportunity in every challenge, right? The fact of the matter is that you have so many different components here that allow for you to think about the beyond, right? The 365-day engagement that I need to be able to drive with my consumer to help bolster opportunity. And that's really what these things need to represent. So look, there's hard things that we have to deal with in our business, but tremendous opportunity on the other side to be able to capture attention and brand loyalty.
Are you seeing AI tackle some of those hard things in new ways?
There's a lot of talk about AI tackling those things. I think there's a lot of promise of where it can step into. I mean, look, I think where AI has been put to use in the best case, there's a lot of promise with Gen AI as it relates to creative to help alleviate some of these challenges as it relates to the experiential or kind of the multi-touch aspects of how you think about engaging in all of these different facets around certain events or over the course of a calendar year. We utilize AI services as it relates to our audience and segmentation business. So there is a lot of promise that I'm starting to see build in that capacity. But the promise of AI has to be able to reduce the workload that ultimately is going to be able to drive the best program here.
Yeah. Can we talk about gaming for a second?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you measuring gaming? Are you in gaming? And what are you thinking about for 2024?
Gaming's a huge, huge, huge opportunity for marketers. It's a personal passion point as well as a core focus for Comscore. In a few weeks we're going to release our updated State of the Gaming report. We've been looking at this space for over a decade. What I think gaming represents is this beautiful white space of consumer engagement, right? You have users that are in a logged in state, highly attentive and engaged. You have fantastic integration opportunities. You have users that are transacting in those environments. It is a natural extension that is underappreciated at this phase within the marketing strategy as we think about all of those different kind of cross-screen opportunities. And I think we're going to see a rise of it. And frankly, it's becoming more of a topic. But I don't think it's as appreciated as it needs to be at this point.
What's been the impediment there? Because obviously the things that you're mentioning, maybe they're more true now, but they certainly have been true in years past. So what is changing there, or what is the thing that needs to still be unlocked for people to get it, or are they just going to naturally kind of finally wake up and figure it out?
Look, I think it's a little bit different across the board. Historically, the gaming ecosystem, specifically within the mobile app world, has been very, very heavily performance oriented. I think the fragmented tech stacks have also prevented some of the movement into the particular space. We're now seeing that being bridged. And frankly, I think just the appreciation for the consumer time and attention in that environment hasn't really been as well thought of until we've started to see how blossoming the gaming economy ultimately looks like. And the gaming economy is just another phase of the consumer economy and a great opportunity for brands.
As we wrap up here, I want to talk about the CES theme, which is this year and last year, Human Security for All, how technology helps people live better lives. Does that resonate with you as a company, and what are you thinking about there?
Absolutely. Look, at the core of what Comscore does is about representativeness. And we've done some fantastic work with the ANA to create planning tools that allow for underrepresented parts of our consumer demographic to be able to be planned and bought against and measured in effective ways. So for us, the core of any good media strategy takes in the factor of representatives of the consumer demographics and the consumer base. Minority factors, gender factors, all these different factors that need to play into it. We're highly committed to continuing to support that. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. We've seen wonderful movement from the market, but I think that's what it comes down to when you think about ComScore in this capacity.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to chat once again here in the C-Space studio. Steve Bagdasarian, ComScore. Really appreciate you coming back.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Hope you come back again, and we hope you come back for more conversations here in the C-Space studio. I'm James Kotecki. We are at CES 2024. Don't go anywhere. back to the C-Space studio here at CES 2024. I am James Kotecki. Joining me right now, Christopher Vollmer, Managing Director, MediaLink. Thanks so much for coming on the C-Space studio.
Yeah, appreciate being here.
MediaLink, a big part of CES. Tell me about MediaLink's ambitions and dreams here at CES and coming out of it.
Yeah, well, technology has been reshaping media, entertainment, and advertising dramatically. How it gets made, how it gets distributed, how it gets monetized. It's also, the time of the year when people get together and they start thinking about what their plans are for the rest of the year. The combination of those things and the fact that you have the whole ecosystem together means we need to be here. And we want to be here when the ecosystem comes together. We want to be, we have a phrase at MediaLink, in the room where it happens. Yeah. CES is one of those places where things happen.
Did you do that before Hamilton, or did you?
We did do that, yeah, before Hamilton.
You
and
had
then
that
it just got
Hamilton.
amplified. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
They stole it from you. I think MediaLink may be pretty well known, especially here at C-Space. For those who are watching, you may not be as familiar. How do you fit into the media ecosystem? Can you kind of define the brand?
Sure. So we're a boutique advisory firm at the intersection of media, technology, sports, entertainment, and advertising. We advise brands and agencies, platforms and publishers,
so all sides of the
and
equation.
all the players in between. So agencies, ad tech companies, other marketing services players. So what's unique about MediaLink is we have clients on both the buy side, so the brands and the agencies, and the supply side, everyone who's involved in making and distributing advertising.
So, I mean, literally it's right in the name, right? You're linking up all these different entities.
That's the promise, yeah.
And so you're definitely the person to talk to, just kind of on a macro level, about a lot of interesting trends that we're seeing here at CES, C-Space, and beyond. So I'd love to start with AI, because that's the theme on everybody's lips and minds this year here at CES 2024. As you look across the entire ecosystem, what is your thought on what AI means for 2024?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, we're in early days. So I think there'll be lots of experimentation. But I think there are three areas that I would keep my eye on, where I think even consumers and certainly advertisers here will start to feel the presence of AI in different media experiences. So for example, I think content discovery is a place where AI will help consumers get to the content that's most relevant, that they're most interested in ways that are much more frictionless than exist today. It's a real problem, like in streaming. How do I get to the shows that I want? We're all overwhelmed with choice.
We've had several guests mention the problem of you're sitting around for 15 minutes trying to choose what you want, and you're kind of in a daze because it's Friday afternoon and you just want to figure out something to watch.
That's bad for the user. It's also bad for the service. Drive more engagement, drive more usage, fixing discovery. AI will play a role in that. So that's one area. I think another big area is that you'll see AI playing a role in targeting. So ad-supported streaming is the fastest growing part of the streaming ecosystem. What AI can help do is help advertisers make sure that they're reaching the right consumers in the right place at the right time with the right message. And do that at more scale than sort of conventional machine learning analytical approaches to date. So that would be the second area I would watch, targeting. And then I think a third area is that it costs money to make advertising. And advertising has been primarily made by people. What you can do now is you can lower the cost of production through AI technologies and lower the cost of creation of advertising. So you can actually maybe spend volume-wise more and probably also spend more wisely.
And what are your thoughts on where that leaves human creativity in the equation and the need for people in the loop?
So I think the way that's going to evolve is that we're going to have basically data-enabled creativity going forward. So what that means is it's the machines and the artificial intelligence really help with the scaled production, but the idea generation, the storytelling, and how that plays out with new tools will be the role that I think human intelligence still plays a major factor in.
I like this framework that you have here for the different roles of AI: discovery, targeting, and ad creation, making advertising cheaper to, less expensive to produce. I like that because it kind of takes all these wild ideas about AI and it kind of boils it down to like, what does it mean for the people at C-Space, marketing, media, branding folks? Do you think AI, so I think I like that, it's a pretty straightforward take. And so I wonder, do you think AI in some ways is overhyped? Do you think it is underhyped? Do you think, for all the hype that it has, is it potentially underhyped? Where are you on the hype feeling?
Hard to say it's overhyped.
Yeah.
It's part of every conversation here. But I do think, coming back to how I started, that it's early days.
Yeah.
I think that it's something where everyone's going to be learning a lot. Everyone wants to learn a lot. Everyone needs to learn a lot.
Yeah.
I think if you throttle up big picture, even though streaming has been the dominant growth driver in the media ecosystem, probably outside of social media, it's still one where very few, I think only one big player, Netflix, is actually profitable. So that actually will accelerate, I think, the adoption of artificial intelligence in the ways that I outlined, because they need to still get some more growth. That's where AVOD in particular, they're trying to all add subscribers in AVOD. And they also want to get to profitability. So the things that they can do to increase ad revenue per user, the way they can integrate more efficient ways of working that lower the cost of ad creation, probably even lower the cost of content decisioning too. I mean, you look at Netflix, they dropped 100 shows. They announced that a week ago. While that may not be an AI trend specifically, you can bet it's on the basis of analytics
Figure
on the
out
platform.
what to make, what to drop, what to
Right. And I think that will be the that'll be must-have for all the players and the ones that are really in a state where they're data ready for AI. They'll be the ones that can take the most advantage of it.
As you look at the deal-making landscape and potential for 2024, what do you see out there? What's on your mind?
Well, I'm optimistic that the deal climate overall will be stronger in 2024 than it was in 2023. In 2023, it was not a bad deal environment, but had a lot of uncertainty, macroeconomic in this country, geopolitical more broadly. Lots of expectations about recession that never seemed to happen, but certainly influenced the pace and volume of deals. I think in 2024, there's the expectation that the macroeconomic environment, interest rates will come down. That certainly makes the deal environment more attractive. I also think that the industry dynamics lend themselves now more towards buyers getting involved. In other words, I think sellers are going to probably be coming down on their valuations, being maybe more in line with market expectations on the buy side, and that will increase the deal volume. And I also think you have a set of owners who are anxious, I think, to get rid of assets that may not fit their sort of near-term strategy needs in the way they thought it would.
And I know that so many folks here are clients or potential clients, so maybe you don't want to do this, but are you comfortable naming any names? Would you, any predictions of deals that you think will get done in 2024 specifically?
Yeah, I'm not really in the in the Magic 8-Ball game.
Fair enough.
But there will be. There will be. I think I'm personally skeptical of big media consolidation in the coming year. I think because of regulatory reasons. I think the political climate may not lend itself to doing so. And I also think, just in general, no one really probably wants to double down on linear media. I could get proven wrong, but until those portfolios are restructured a little bit, I think the sense of urgency isn't quite as high as maybe the press rumors suggest.
Is there another technology trend, maybe related to something that is potentially on the show floor here at CES or beyond? Are there other kind of technologies that are maybe glimmers right now on the horizon that you're thinking, oh, if this kind of thing comes into being, it could really impact the industry?
Yeah, well, the way I would think about it is, again, looking at the broader media and entertainment landscape, where is there growth? And one of the areas where there has been growth, and there will continue to be, in my view, is in live experiences. So I think where technology can come into live experiences and enhance them or augment them or otherwise make them better, I think that's a really powerful combination. I mean, we're here in Las Vegas, there's the Sphere.
Yes.
That's completely revolutionizing live entertainment. The whole augmented reality space is a version of that. I'm really interested in that intersection of the physical, the live, the in-person with a digital augmented component. And I think that's a really powerful thing to watch.
So much more to talk about when you hopefully join us next time. Christopher Vollmer, Media Link, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much for being with us. This is the C-Space Studio. We are at CES 2024. We are excited to continue. I am James Kotecki. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with more.